carbon leader. We are about to see if we can catch some fish, y'all. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna catch a lot of everything, and I'm curious to see if we can hook a big bass today. Oh man. Oh man, what we got here? This one feels decent. Oh, it's a bass. There we go. He is not a bad one. He is not a bad one. I will take him for the first fish of the day. Look at that. Right there, guys. As you guys can tell, it's a little baby. Woo, woo. Little baby crappie jig right there. This guy is the squirmiest thing. I swear. Hold on. That is the first fish of the day right there. Just a little baby guy. But that was pretty quick. What I did is I did have the electric chicken on. I switched it to this little shad profile. Look at his lips right there. Look at that. Gosh, that's awesome. That is crazy. But I switched that little shad profile one. I did break off the other one. Right there. Caught him right away. Just a few casts. He slammed that thing. And it's so fun on those little light baits like that and light tackle. These fish just fight so hard even when they're small. But that's awesome for the first one today. We're going to catch a few more of these and I'm going to show you what I'm doing and how I'm getting the bites on this. There he goes. There he is. There we go, baby. They fight so hard on this stuff. They aren't even big. I'm telling you, it catches fish right there. Look at that. Perfect. Another little bass. Crazy right here. I'm hoping to get like a little crappie or bluegill, catch something a little bit different, but this just shows, you know, the micro baits, they catch bass. I mean, a lot of people say, you know, don't throw small baits, you know, they only catch small fish, this and that. I'm going to tell you, a majority of the fish in this pond are around this size. If I was on a fish, or if I was at a pond with, you know, a lot more bigger fish, then I promise you this thing will catch them. Like, it just will. But I want to show you guys a little bit of how I'm working this, and pretty much how I'm doing it right now. I haven't really dialed in these fish yet. Like, I've caught two, but I haven't really dialed them in yet to really figure out, you know, how they really want to eat this thing. So this is how I'm working this thing. I'm just throwing, that was a close one. I'm just throwing this bait out there, and there is a lot of grass in the bottom of this pond. Even right now in the winter time, there's still a good bit of grass on the bottom. There's just a bunch of crap, really, a bunch of leaves because all the leaves are gone from the trees, and just a bunch of stuff that there we go. Another bass. I was trying to explain, but speaking of weeds, I mean, you could tell by the bait right there, just a bunch of nasty stuff on the bottom. And I know a lot of people are going to comment about that because a lot of ponds, you know, have a bunch of nasty stuff, and it's hard to throw, you know, certain baits there without getting a bunch of crap on your bait. So that's pretty much how I'm working this thing right now, is I'm throwing it out and I'm really popping it hard. Like I said, I'll try it again. I'll throw it out and I'm really popping this thing off the bottom. I'm not really letting it sit too long. In some areas where I know there's not a lot of grass, and I know it's kind of, you know, sandy bottom, there's not really much down there, I'm gonna really slow this thing down and barely wiggle it. But for right now, and how I've caught those three fish, is I'm pretty much popping this thing off the bottom, and it's just shooting. Golly, I had another bite right there. It's just popping right off the bottom. It's such a quick little, you know, the bait's just popping right off. It looks like a little bait fish on the bottom, just popping up. And there's one thing that's very important when throwing these little micro jig heads like this for these little crappie baits. And the most important, speaking of it, you just bit my tail off right there. But the most important thing is the movement of your rod. And obviously I'm just using a little bass setup right here. I'm sure to be a little bit different with a little crappie rod, or, you know, a little smaller rod. But you guys got to understand with that tiny, tiny bait, that the slight motion with your rod, like just a little bit like this, is making that bait really come up about 3 to 4 inches off the bottom. So just jerking it like this, I'm popping it pretty hard and aggressive, just because there's a lot of crap on the bottom, and if it's on my lure, I kind of want to pop it off. You got to understand, when I pop my rod like that, that bait's coming at least a solid 6 to 7 inches off the bottom, which can be a really productive way to catch those fish as well, just because it's a reaction bite. Say he's looking at it, and you pop your rod, just like I was showing you guys with the jig in that one video, where you're really popping your rod hard, and that bait's shooting up, and it just causes a reaction bite, a little reaction strike for those fish to just commit to it. But that's something just to keep in note. You know, if the fish are a little more lethargic today or whatever it is, I'm gonna barely tick that rod. Like, I mean, I like just like this, just barely, to where that thing's just barely moving. just keep that in note. It's not like a regular jig, like a 1/2 ounce jig or a shaky head or even a drop shot. This is a lot smaller of a bait. So just be careful when you're working that thing. And if you're not getting bites, slow down, especially this time of year. That's the biggest word, is to slow down. And I promise you, you'll catch some more fish. But let's go down the bank. I don't know if that's exactly how they're eating it. I mean, yeah, I've caught 3 fish, but who knows? I might be able to slow this thing down even more instead of really popping it and getting that reaction bite. And I'll probably catch more fish. But we're gonna experiment with that today. Let's keep going down this bank and see what we can catch. Hey man, these little guys fight. I'm telling you, they don't play no games. This is why this is so much fun, guys. You will catch, listen, if I was out here with a drop shot or a Senko, I don't know if you guys remember the last time I came out here, but it was horrible. Like, it was horrible. I had to painfully soak, I think it was a Senko I was using, and I had to painfully soak it. I only had 2 bites all day, and it was horrible. And when you downsize to something like that they can just eat, it's smaller, you know, it doesn't take a lot of effort, it's so small it can fit in their mouth, you'll just catch so many fish. I promise you the big ones will bite it. But another little bass. That's number 4 already. I mean, we haven't even been fishing that long, and that is just, oh, that's awesome. They're so fun to catch too. It's just, they fight so well on this little tiny bait like this on a light rig. Oh man, do they fight good. It just feels awesome. It's like every single time, doesn't matter if it's big or small, it feels like you got a big fish on. So that's always a bonus. But man, they're tearing this thing up so far. I'm excited. We haven't even hit the good side of the pond yet. I don't know if you guys can see over there, but there's a lot of wind way back in that corner, and that's where they're gonna be. I promise you, that's where a lot of the fish are in this pond, and I'm super excited to go back there. The only reason why I started over here is because the wind's not as bad, and the audio, you know, I don't really want to mess with the audio. But we are gonna go over there, and I promise you, they'll be stacked up in that corner. It's gonna be good. Little baby bass. I've yet to catch anything but a bass. Look how dark that fish is. It's crazy. He has a little spot on him, like something tried to get him. Little baby. Should be every cast right there because it narrows down. Uh-oh. There he is, right where he should have been. Oh! Fish number 2 in the same spot. That is another dark fish. So let me tell you a little bit of something right here. So, alright, let me put my pole down so I can... You see that fish right there, just like the last one, he was caught in the same spot, and that is a stubby one, ain't he? Little baby. But you see the colors on him, how he's so dark? This is the one spot on the pond where grass really keeps around this time of year. And what he's doing, he's sitting around the edge of that grass. So what you have here, you have all this wind, as you guys can tell, I was talking about it on that other side, pushing up against this bank, and more importantly, pushing right up in this cove right here. And this is important to know. I mean, this is something that you can take wherever you fish. I don't care if it's a lake, a pond, wherever. Is wherever that wind's positioned and pushing back in, especially when you find like a little pocket like this, where it's just pushing in, that is key right there. Because it's gonna push all that bait fish, push all that stuff right back to where those fish are, and those bass are gonna be sitting here to ambush. But this time of year, especially in the winter, I actually have a video coming out soon. I don't know if I already posted it or not, but I talk about, you know, this fish sitting in the deepest part of the ponds and in the lakes, and how I really figured that out in ponds. And say I see how this little cove goes back here. So you got each side of this bank, and what it does is it's pretty shallow on the banks. So envision this. So we're sitting on this side of the bank, then you have this side of the bank, which is over there. Say they're both coming down, and you're gonna create a deep point right here on the bottom. And those, it's pretty much like a little ditch, I would call it, in a pond. I just say it's just a little ditch. Those fish are gonna tuck up in that, especially when there's grass, so they have cover down there. They have that ditch, they're gonna cradle up in that, especially when it's cold like this during the winter. And then you have all this wind pushing back in here. That is just perfect for a bass to sit down in. And that's really what I've been trying to figure out in this pond, because it's very shallow throughout the whole thing. But when you have these two necks bank in like that, it's gonna create just a little ditch. And say this pond's around 5 foot, even if in the middle right there is about 7, just a 2-foot drop off, in a shallow pond, that is very, very important. And they will stack up in there, and that just shows, I just proved it, because I caught 2 fish in the same spot. And guess what? I'm about to pick up my bait right now, and we're gonna see if we can catch a 3rd, maybe even 4th, maybe even 5th fish right in that same spot. So I'm gonna throw right in the middle at the mouth of this thing. Just right out there. where obviously would be the deepest point to where they both neck together. And that's where those fish should all be stacked up, and that's where those two were. But when you find these fish stacked up like this, I'm telling you, it can be a slugfest. I mean, you can almost every cast sometimes. And you can really put a hurting on them. I'm telling you, just next time you go to one of your ponds, try to figure out where that deep area is, where it drops off and it has like a little ditch. That's what I'm calling them, is a ditch. And go fish that out. And if you catch one, keep making that cast, because there's going to be more down there with it. So I just moved back more in this cove where the wind's pushing in. And there's a problem that I had back here with this little bait. It's that there's a lot of grass, and this hook's so exposed. You know, it's just like a little jig head, like a little swim bait head, I mean, whatever. And the thing is, the hook's exposed and it's gonna hook all that grass. So what I've been doing is I've been keeping it right above that grass and kind of just jerking the top of my rod, trying to get a reaction bite, and just kind of swimming that thing. And this, hey yo, what's going on, boys and girls, ladies and gents? Welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about something that a lot of you guys asked about, and so I'm going to be teaching you guys a little bit about what baits I flip around some cover for bass. Also, what I really look for when it comes to, you know, flipping trees and everything on the bank, and figuring out what those fish are on, figuring out a pattern, because I know it sounds really simple, as, you know, you see a tree on a bank, you see this and that, you can just go flip a crawl, flip a worm, whatever it is, and catch them. But it's really not that simple, because there's a lot of key factors that if you put them together correctly, you can catch more bass. Let's go ahead and get this video started. And I know you guys are wondering what I got on. So I just have a standard old little Texas rig. Let me get a little close shot for you guys. As you guys can tell, it's just pegged right there on the end. Just a little ½ ounce weight, just a little lead weight. I don't use any tungsten or anything out here. I'm on the river, just super inexpensive, little lead weight, ½ ounce. I have a little EWG hook, this is 3/0, and right now I have a little Senko on right there. That's actually black and blue. So I have a few packs of baits right here I would like to talk about, and pretty much why I would use them. So on my rod right now, I actually have a Senko. This is just a Yum Dinger. Alan Bob's actually behind the camera, and these are his. And these are just regular black and blue, perfect for dirty water. And then I have a few packs of Rage Crawls right here. One pack's in June Bug, one pack's in black and red. When you guys are fishing dirty water, I'm going to add this in just in case you guys are really curious about this. When you're fishing dirty water, there's 3 colors I really go to, is black and blue, red and black, and also the standard old June Bug. I pretty much go out here and fish both of these baits. I fish a Senko and I fish a crawl, and I really figure out what they're going to eat. I know it sounds crazy when throwing around all this stuff and fishing certain baits. Usually they'll eat a crawl or they'll eat a worm. It's a slow moving bait, whatever it is. But I've really seen it out here is more and more that I fish the river, is that they're either gonna munch on that Rage Crawl or speed crawl, whatever it is, or they're gonna munch on that Senko. And so you really gotta toy around with it and try different baits to see what they're gonna eat the best on that day. But let's go ahead and get out here and start fishing some of these trees. No. See that bait's, he's got it. Look at him running. Golly, dude. That's not a bad fish at all. I'll take him. I'll take him any day, boys. First fish of the day. Not a bad one. That's a pretty little fish, man. Pretty little Savannah River bass. On the old Texas rig right here. Right there. He's got you. Get him. He's running with the dog. Alan Bob just thinks he... Golly, man. Alan Bob.
Take the hook out.
Really?
Yeah.
You what? He's running with me now.
Oh, yeah.
Golly, dude.
Yep. Oh, my God.
Why is he fighting that hard? He's not a bad one at all. Yeah, I'm throwing black and blue.
What are you throwing, Alan?
I got some June Bug down there, and I got some black and red. Here we go, baby. Second fish of the day. Alan Bob just almost had one, too. We might be able to catch something right here. Oh, I jacked him, I can tell you that. Now that was a bass, dude. That was a solid 8. He bent the crap out of
God. Oh my gosh, show that to the camera, dude. That's wild. Stupid fish, dude, I swear. Yeah, dude, that's crazy. Oh, nice. Dude, that's some mudfish?
Oh, yeah, I said it was.
Dude, I thought it was a big fish for a minute there. Probably like 7. Oh my. Golly! Oh, you ate it when I was reeling it. That's a big one. I thought I had a huge bass for a minute there. Catching dinosaurs, baby. You got him? Oh, God. He's fighting hard, ain't he? That little baby. Little fat one, though. There you go, man.
There you go.
Baby.
Baby.
Another baby dude. He's a little fatter, though.
Yeah,
a little fatter
he's
than
a
the
little
last
bit
one.
bigger.
The main reason why I'm talking about this today is because this is one way that you can really be really productive, especially when, I mean, this is something that's gonna work when the fishing's tough, when the fishing is really good. Either way, you're gonna be able to catch fish on this bait, especially when it's tough outside. And that's mainly why I'm going over this today, because it is a tough day. I don't know if you guys can tell by the sky right here. If you could look up, it's bluebird skies today. I know the sun's not out right now because I am filming this a little bit later, before the sun goes down. But what does fish do, especially, I like it. I'm kind of weird. I like it when it's bluebird skies out here on the river, mainly because when you're out here fishing the river, you're mainly fishing cover the whole time. You're usually throwing around these trees and these laydowns, these cypress trees, that whole deal. And golly, he had me right there. I wasn't paying attention. But I usually like bluebird skies when I'm out here on the river, because what happens is, you know, that sun's out, there's no clouds in the sky, and those fish really get on that cover, get on all those trees, all those laydowns, and it really makes it easy to target them in a way. And usually, you know, when those clouds are up, those fish are roaming so much and they're really munching. But out here on the river, it really scatters those fish a lot, and it's really hard to find them. It's really hard to locate them, rather than when that sun's bearing down and those fish really tuck down in this cover, and you can just throw, you know, simply a little Senko or a crawl just like this. So I actually haven't got a bite in quite a minute on that Senko, so I'm actually gonna switch over to this little rage crawl. This is in black and red, as you guys can tell right there. Little sexy rig. This thing smucks them, guys. If you guys are looking to catch some fish, just telling you, some juice, I promise you. So there's a few different ways you can work this bait, and it's all gonna depend on the day, obviously, but I'm gonna teach you a few things that I usually do when, you know, fishing all these trees and everything with these Texas rigs. You throw your bait out there next to this tree. As you can tell, there's a little tree right there, a little lay down right here in the water at the mouth of this little slough. And, you know, I throw it out there and I can just drag it. Simple as that. It's just lifting up on the rod and just dragging that bait right across all that cover, right across all those trees. And that is probably one of the best ways, especially if those fish are really slow, is to just drag that bait. You'll get a lot of bites doing that, and some days they're gonna like it that way, and then some days you're gonna throw out there and they're gonna like you popping it. You know, they're gonna kind of like you wiggling the tip of your rod like this, and those tails fluttering like that. And that's just gonna be, it's all gonna be on experimentation. I can't sit here and tell you guys to throw this bait on cover, do exactly what I'm telling you, and you guys go catch fish. It just does not work that way. It's all gonna be you guys taking, you know, the tips that I'm giving you today and applying them to your home lake or your home body of water, or even a pond, wherever it is, and really trying all these different techniques. And then when it's super tough, because I've had it like this a lot, when it's really hard to even buy a bite, which today it is very hard, and I'm surprised I haven't done it yet, is I'll simply flip my bait out there, let it hit the bottom, obviously, and I'll barely work this thing. I mean, I'll just pretty much dead stick it. You know, my rod, I'm just barely dragging this thing every once in a while. You know, I kind of put my rod down, drink a couple sips of coffee, you know how it is, and then just slightly just kind of feels.